back to The Standard. I'm your host, Brock, and every week we're going to talk about what it looks like to pursue a higher standard in faith, family, fitness, and the outdoors. Today, I want to talk about focus and how I've been implementing and discovering how focus has been impactful in my life. One of the biggest things that has held me back over the years wasn't necessarily fear, but it was more so wanting everything to be perfect. I wanted perfect timing. I wanted a perfect plan. I wanted the perfect equipment. I want the perfect amount of knowledge. But I realized that perfection is one of the biggest reasons people never start. And there's a quote that I hear all the time from my coach. It's, perfect is the enemy of good. If we sit here and we're so focused on everything being perfect, hey, we have to have a perfect plan in place to start this company. We have to have a perfect plan in place to do X, Y, and Z. While having a good plan, while having a perfect plan sounds great, a good plan will suffice and you can actually get started because you're not going to know everything right off the bat. Everything's not going to be perfect. It'll never be perfect. And so once you actually come to the agreement with yourself that nothing's ever going to be perfect, and if you just start in that movement of starting, it'll drive a lot of clarity for you. So I want to really dive into this. Let's unpack perfect is the enemy of good. I love this quote because this quote has really been resonating with me in the fact that I have to feel like I have to have this perfect office or this perfect scenario or the perfect equipment. And none of that's true. Actually, just getting started is the biggest mover because once you get started, everything becomes exceedingly clear. For example, this podcast. I did not know how to upload to Spotify. I did not know what's a good camera, what's a good mic. All of these what ifs. We can sit here and try to make the perfect podcast, but at the end of the day, this is episode 2, and this is the time for me to grow and learn how to podcast, how to speak to the camera, how to relay what's been laid on my heart to y'all. It really work on getting focused on the things that are important. I look at my life in increments, and when you first start something, you don't have any confidence because you don't have any evidence to back up what you're doing. That can be very hard, but the confidence comes after you move, right? Once you release your first episode, once you start that business and things get moving, then it's a snowball effect and things start picking up. I've got a good friend, Nick Vardis. He was an operator at an oil and gas company that we both worked at. And he did not know how to get started. He always was like, but what if? But what if? I'm like, dude, let's just start a company. Start a dirt work company. You're a fantastic operator. So he did it. He started his company. He built his company up. Then he was able to step away from being a full-time operator for somebody else and now is an owner-operator in his business. He's killing it. But if he would never have taken that first step to start, he wouldn't be where he's at today. And so if we always try to sit here and say, oh, I need this truck, I need this camera, I need this computer, I need X, Y, and Z, whatever it is to start, you're never going to get started because there's always going to be something else. You just need to start. After I graduated college, I got a job in an oil and gas company. I had no clue what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to make a difference. And I knew I wanted to help people. And I have all these different ideas going around in my head. It was a mess. And so my wife challenged me to get one of those giant sticky notes, get on the ground with her, and write everything out. And that was such a powerful exercise for me to do, because I was able to write out everything from my finances to my spiritual goals, to my family goals, to business goals, to fitness goals, all of these goals on a piece of paper, circle the ones that are the most important, circle some of the other ones that are not as important, and then connect them. And so when I started connecting the dots, and I had this giant sheet just with a bunch of chicken scratch on it, it started making a lot of sense to me of the path that I needed to go. And that path was entrepreneurship. Because if I owned my own business, I would be able to step away. I would be able to make a difference. There would be no cap on the amount of money I would be able to make or the things I would be able to do. But with that comes a lot of stress. With that comes a lot of other responsibilities. But I knew that was the direction I needed to go. So what did I do? I filed an LLC, started an excavation company, and started working. That was the first step forward. I soon figured out that I did not want to do excavation or dirt work, because my goals were to be able to make money when I travel, when I am with the family, to spend more time with my family, to spend more time with my kids. And if I'm being an owner-operator, it really pulls back from what my goals are. So I decided to get a partner and start a roll-off dumpster company. This was great. It's been great for the past 3 years, but we're moving in a different direction now. At the time, it was exceedingly clear on the direction I needed to go, and I was able to run dumpsters while the kids were sleeping, and I was getting closer to my goal of being able to work but not be on a job site all day long. When things started becoming a lot more clear for me, my wife and I decided to go pray over this piece of property that was for sale. One thing led to another. This was specifically for our dumpster company, to expand our territory, to grow the roll-off dumpster company. Through that action, we were then able to purchase Good to See You Texting. It has been such an amazing experience, because I'm able to help business owners. I'm able to do all of these things, but I don't have to be confined to a specific location. I can take this nationally if I want to, and there's no cap on how big I can make this company. So each of the steps, from the excavation company to the roll-off dumpster company, now to what I rebranded as Go-To Texting, each step has given me the confidence to take the next one. Because if I was still sitting back in 2022, I would not have had the confidence to purchase a company to be where I am today. Thing happens for a reason. The Lord puts you in certain situations so that you can grow, so that you're able to handle the next one. So right now, we're about to sell the roll-off dumpster company. We're going to sell it as a whole. I'm not selling because it's failing. I'm selling it because I'm choosing focus. Because if I have too many irons in the fire, that doesn't allow me to get exceedingly clear on what I need to do and grow my texting company. I realize that if I really want to build something great, I can't chase every opportunity that comes my way. And with this growth, good opportunities can still distract you from a great opportunity. So I'm choosing to pour my energy into Go-To Texting. I'm building my personal brand. I want to continue to build this podcast. I'm continuing to grow in my faith and to be there for my family. Because where your focus goes, that's where the growth follows. And I want to do less things, but get more out of them. So if I'm focusing on building my personal brand, if I'm focusing on building my business, I'm focusing on getting faster and stronger, and I'm focusing on getting closer to the Lord, and I'm focusing on my daughters and my wife. All the distractions can really hinder your growth. And it's hard because at the end of the day, if you just want to decompress and watch Netflix, it's hard. If you want to decompress and watch Netflix, that's great. But how are you growing in that? Decompress by talking to your wife. Decompress by reading a book. Decompress by pouring into something else rather than being entertained. Entertainment has caused our generation to lose focus on what we're doing. If you see people in public, they're on their phone. If there's an awkward conversation or awkward anything going on their phone, you're going to and from work on their phone, people driving down the road on their phone, you wake up, what's the first thing you do? You're on your phone. We are constantly entertained and not focused. And I'm guilty of it myself. So getting exceedingly clear on where my focus goes. That's one reason I can't be focused on two different things. And that's one of the reasons why I'm selling the dumpster company. I don't have the time or the bandwidth to train for endurance sports, to be a good dad, to grow my business and my personal brand. I can't do all of these things. And so I'm having to cut away at the things that get me closer to my goals. When you're hunting or you're sighting in a gun and you're sighting in a bow, you have your target. When you're trying to sight in your gun or your bow, you're not looking at the whole target, right? You're looking at the center. Because if you're looking at the whole target, yeah, you may get somewhere close, but you may miss a target. You may hit one of the sides. Let me tell you a funny story. Back when I was first getting into bow hunting, I was probably in middle or high school. And I did some trading on Craigslist and got a couple bows. And so I would shoot them in my backyard. If you're not a bow hunter, when you pull back on your bow, you've got your sights at the front, but in the back, there's a little peep sight that you look through and you line that up with the fiber optic and then the target. So you line up all those three and then you let the arrow go and you let it fly. And my dad, who wasn't familiar with that, pulled the bow back, aimed, quote unquote, aimed at the target, missed the target. It went through the fence into our neighbor's backyard. And if you're just like in focus, if you're looking at the entire target, you may get close to it. But if you are exceedingly clear and you're focused specifically on that center, then you're going to hit right around it. Even if you're off, you're going to get closer to the center if you're focused on the center than the whole thing. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to aim small and miss small. And if I can do that in these pillars of my life of faith, family, fitness, there's going to be a lot of growth. But that means there's going to be a lot of cutting away of things that aren't focus driven for those goals. It's hard because you have friends that are not focused like that. They go to their job, they have the 9 to 5, or they're not goal or focus driven, and they're just living their life. That was me. And I don't want that anymore. I want exceedingly clear goals in what I'm trying to achieve because I'm going to achieve them. I'm not trying, I'm achieving. I saw a video, I think it was Tony Robbins. He told this lady to try to pick up that chair. She picked up the chair. He said, no, try to pick up the chair. So she put it back down, she picked it up again. He's like, you're not getting what I'm saying. Try to pick up the chair. And the moral of the story was, you don't try to do something. You either do or you don't. You achieve your goals or you don't achieve your goals. You don't try to pick up the chair. You either pick the chair up or you don't. And so I'm doing that in every aspect of my life. One of the ways is how I speak about myself, how I speak on camera, how I speak to my daughters or my wife, speaking life into them, speaking life over my business. I'm not trying to build my business. I am building my business. I'm building the business every single day, 1%, being consistent, but being focused on the right things with the consistency is a very powerful combination. So I want to leave you with a question. What good thing are you holding on to that's keeping you from pursuing the great thing? Maybe it's a habit. Maybe it's a side project. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's waiting until everything's perfect. Whatever it is, identify it this week. Take one step, not 10, just one. Because clarity comes through action and not overthinking. I was speaking with my best friend today, and we were talking about some stuff going on in his life, and he said, man, I feel the best I have felt from working this weekend and getting out and moving. And when I say movement drives clarity, I'm not saying you have to go out and run 60 miles. I'm saying us as men need to move our bodies. We need to work with our hands. We need to lift some weights. We need to run. We need to walk. Movement. Instead of sitting in a chair, sitting in a truck, we've got to move. We've got to accomplish something. We've got to build something. That is in our DNA. That's what God has made us to do. And so if we get outside and we just move, it'll clear up that brain fog and you'll be able to move forward. So if you have a business that you're wanting to start, if you're wanting to get into fitness, if you're wanting to get into hunting, if you're wanting to do any of these things, if you want to be a better dad, don't wait for the perfect time. Make the first step. Because if you make the first step, everything else will fall into place. I'm a big believer in bite off more than you can chew and figure the rest out. Because if you do that, you'll find out really if you made the right decision or the wrong decision. So, thank you all for listening to another episode of The Standard. Remember, keep your eyes on the goal. Stop waiting for the perfect. Start with what you have. Movement drives clarity, and stay focused on what matters most, and trust that God will guide your steps as you move. I'll see you next week. Stay blessed.